Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're so excited that you're here. My name is Dr. Wilma Franco. I'm the Executive Director for the Southeast LA Collaborative. For those of you that don't know, our collaborative is a network of organizations working here in the Southeast to collectively uplift the communities and create regional systemic change. We're excited that you're joining us today. As you know, last month we launched our SELA Region campaign. Our campaign is really focusing on highlighting some of the positive work that's taking place here in the Southeast. And part of these conversations are really giving it a little more information to our audience and our community around some of the work that's taking place. So this campaign also builds on something that we created collectively with over 80 leaders here in the Southeast back in 2021, our SELA agenda. For those of you that don't know, our SELA agenda is actually an agenda for the Southeast. It identifies 8 policy areas and investment opportunities, as well as the partners and leaders that are working around these issues. So today's conversations are really focusing on environmental justice and regional advocacy. So we're excited because a lot of the conversations that we often have with our leaders are around how all these issues are intersectional, right? So we're so happy that we have our panelists joining us here today. We'll be sharing stories about some of the work that's taking place in the city of Bell and our city of Lynwood here in the Southeast in partnership with our nonprofit sector. So we're excited. We look forward to educating and sharing a little bit more about some of this amazing work. And we'll get started today with our City of Bell colleagues, and then so we'll cue the video.
During the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2021, SELA was in critical need of COVID-19 aid and vaccines. The people of SELA faced many challenges to accessing the COVID-19 vaccine due to limited appointment availability, long wait times, and challenges using online appointment systems. Due to these barriers, we knew the people in SELA required an easily accessible and efficient vaccination center within our communities.
The COVID-19 vaccination rate was very low in the city of Bell before the vaccine center was opened. With the help of the JWCH Institute, SELA Collaborative, and Supervisor Hilda Solis's office, we created the vaccination center on March 22nd of 2021. This is the product of what happens when the community gets together to meet and serve a common goal. Just during our first week of operation, we vaccinated an estimated 500 people. And overall, we administered 19,671 COVID-19 vaccines to the people of SELA.
Creating this vaccination was no easy task. It came with some challenges we had to overcome, such as misinformation through media and anecdotal evidence, sudden changes from the CDC update, system changes, and logistical issues, and inexperience in running a vaccination clinic.
SELA was considered a high-risk area because of high percentage of multifamily homes and essential workers. To obtain a vaccination appointment, you needed a computer and internet. 2 critical things our SELA region does not have. Many in SELA face language and technology barriers to accessing and creating their vaccination appointment. With the creation of our bilingual call center, our community now had much simpler access to create their vaccination appointments over the phone. Our vaccination center also provided specialized care for clients with autism and individual care for people with diverse religious backgrounds.
Our staff and volunteers had a collective sense of hopefulness and optimism that our hard work would help save lives. We campaigned around the city of Bell, making sure residents knew of our vaccination center. Despite of a limited vaccine supply, we were there for the community's needs. We made sure that every single vaccine was given to the people of SELA.
We must create a comprehensive power-building strategy that sustains community engagement over the long term to address the social determinants of health through policy, systems, and environmental change.
Creating and having an operational and efficient vaccination center was immensely challenging.
We faced many complications.
But with the help of JWCH Institute, SELA Collaborative, the City of Bell, and Supervisor Hilda Solis's office,
We took action and provided the community with
a local community center space to access our COVID-19 vaccines.
If you want to learn more, please visit our website at www.jwchinstitute.org. You can also discover more about the SELA agenda at selacollab.org.
So as you can see, some of this work that has taken place, it has been done with partnerships and collaborations that have taken place in the Southeast. For us, we're actually really happy that we get to tell this story and we get to tell it with our colleagues here. We knew about a lot of this work taking place at the time, but I think oftentimes we don't create the spaces to really talk to those leaders that have been part of these conversations and have been leading this efforts. I think one of the things that was very unique to this story was the fact that it could have been called, right, the Bell Vaccination Center, but it wasn't. It was called the SELA Vaccination Center, really taking on that regional approach to the work that we do to really support our communities here in the Southeast. So thank you so much for joining me today. And now we'll start today with just having you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about your organization and who you represent so that our audience can learn a little bit more about that. Janet.
Thank you. My name is Janet Bond, and I'm the corporate nurse manager at Wesley, JWCH. And we are a nonprofit program that is here for our community.
Thank you. My name is Ali Saleh, council member from the city of Bell. Thank you very much for having me here today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alvin Tamala. I'm the recreation coordinator from the city of Bell.
Awesome, and thank you for being here. So we'll get started with, we have a few questions for you all and just really kind of giving you an opportunity to a little bit share more about the work. So for you, Janet, what moved JWCAH to coordinate with the city of Bell?
Well, one of the things was that our CEO was in a partnership with our county board of supervisor, Hilda Solis, and also we know that there was a need for the vaccinations of the COVID vaccines. We saw the pandemic and we wanted to help. We thrive as being our partnerships with our community.
Awesome, thank you for that. Council member, I know this was a partnership, right, that was created with different partners. What are partnerships and collaborations important?
Partnership means a lot, especially in Southeast Los Angeles. We were able to work with Supervisor Solis's office to bring this vaccination to the city of Bell. And like you said, it wasn't called the City of Bell Vaccination Center, it was called the SELA Vaccination Center. And part of the stuff that we did working together was working with the cities in Southeast Los Angeles. We were successful to get around 20 signatures requesting a vaccination center in the city of Bell. And with our collaboration with SELA Collaborative, we were able to get it one of the largest SELA vaccination center in the region. And that was very successful. I think the first day we were able to get 500 people vaccinated. So again, working together gives a lot of resources, not just for the city of Bell, but for the surrounding cities.
And I know part of what you all share in the video as well, right, was that this was a very unique site location, right? Because we were experiencing a lot of challenges. Like, can you share a little bit more about some of the different approaches that you all took?
Well, it was all the staff that we had that were able to work with the supervisor's office, with JWCH as well, to be able to do that. We called up every resource we were able to get from the county to some of the surrounding cities to be able to work together to make this happen. And I think it was one of the most successful things that we did in the city and the surrounding cities to be able to get this for our community. And we were able to get people from all the surrounding cities, Lynwood, Southgate, Downey, Bell Gardens. Every city was able to come to the city of Bell and get vaccinated. And we had enough vaccinations as people kept coming in.
Awesome, thank you. Alvin, I know you worked on the vaccination side, where you're part of that team. What do you hope other cities will take away from this example of collaboration?
Yeah, for me, the biggest aspect that I want other cities to take away is to really make CBOs your allies. Like, to me, I believe that they're truly the boots on the ground in our communities. They drive civic engagement, such as this event that's taking place today. We're creating these spaces to provide this discourse to each other, to provide this to the public as well.
And I know in the conversation, you were like on the ground when all of this was taking place. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Actually, when I had started, I actually started off as a temporary recreation coordinator. So by the time I was hired and onboarded, the SELA Vaccination Center was already operating. So within my first week, I saw just the community come together to get vaccinated. The lines were going very, very far out. Janet, you can attest to this.
Yes.
We would have, on average, more than 500 people come at a time. And for me to be a newly hired recreation coordinator, to see that and to start coordinating with other staff to get that, to make it successful, it was truly an honor to be a part of. Absolutely.
Awesome. I know in the video you all, and when we were talking about the vaccination center, right, one of the things that came up was that part of what made the center unique was the fact that you had a call-in number, right? And at the time, we were experiencing a lot of technology challenges, right? Like, how was that kind of in comparison to like online, registration for the vaccination site?
I think from our point of view, being in partnership with the Bell Community Center, who had the satellite call center, assisted with us. Plus, we would go and do the outreach to our communities, to pass out flyers, to let all of our communities know that they were welcome. Another one of the aspects were we would work beyond 5 o'clock. That was a big point where our community had to go to work, and then they couldn't find anyone after hours. And we did it on Saturdays as well, so that we wanted to make it as flexible as possible for the community who wanted to come, and we didn't want not one person to be turned away. So if they called the call center and said, hey, we're running late, I know that you finish at 6, do you mind? Then we will, we would just work with them, because we know one person can save more than 100 lives.
Awesome. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Alvin.
Well, I just wanted to add the reach of the vaccination center went further as what was it? I believe it was.
We had people coming from all the way from the AV, Antelope Valley, and Arizona, because we were, I think, we're more accommodating. It wasn't, if you couldn't make the appointment inside of the call center, we still took you. We registered you right there.
Absolutely.
And I think some of the people even walking in, like you said, were being taken care of, and having a call center helped out a lot, because we understand the thing we were trying to do is get to our seniors, and a lot of them didn't have a computer to be able to register. So I think having that connection with the call center and somebody to talk to them in their language helped out and helped them come and get vaccinated. So we were very successful with that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because I know during that time we saw those challenges, right? And we heard of other communities that were not, able to access. But I think the creation of this vaccination center really created that opportunity for a community to feel like it's just down the street, like I can actually access it. And I think, other people have said, well, not a lot of people want to get vaccination, and that's not what we saw in our experience, right, through the work. So Janet, one other question with you. What were Bell's community strengths in recognizing like how you coordinated all these efforts?
One of the greatest strengths was that satellite call-in center, where they called and made appointments with the community. In addition to the community also needed some special needs, and they were able to call on the spot to let us know ahead of time what their needs may be, whether it was, a sick senior in the car that could not walk. We would go to the car. We would sit with them. We had the autism children, which parents was apologizing. I know that it wasn't a big deal, because we were prepared to take them to another quiet area, and we were also able to address the accommodations at Bell Community Center gave us a lot of room to work with. Different religions who can't, bear anything in front of, just in front of males, that gave the females, and we saw that part of the community coming to us now, because we provided a special, quiet, secluded place for that.
Awesome, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Councilmember, what have you learned about collaborating with CBOs during time of crisis?
I think it's important that the communities, the cities, and the CBOs work together. CBOs bring a lot of resources and are able to help in crises like this. I think at one point, even before the vaccination center was open, you would bring a pool of vaccination to be able to vaccinate people in our community, and we were running around trying to figure out who wanted to get vaccinated. There was a certain amount per day that we needed to get done. And I think working with the CBO takes some time and trust, but in the end of the day, it leads to progress in our community. And this is a great example of what we did in the city of Bell, collaborating with the CBO and the vaccination center. was a great success, and I'm looking forward to more successes like this.
Thank you. Alvin, what support does Bell need to continue to address the health impacts of COVID-19?
Absolutely. Within the past 2 years, we actually opened in collaboration with LA County the Bell Health Center. And then as of right now, we're maintaining operations of the testing site that's currently operating at the Bell Community Center. And then alongside this, with our facilitation of our facilities, we're also maintaining the guideline recommendations that the CDC and LA Public Health have still advised us to do.
Awesome, thank you. I know one of the things that kind of resonated with me when you were just sharing was this aspect of really kind of meeting community where they are, right? And I think that is something that oftentimes, right, like we take for granted, and just realizing like the pandemic really allowed us to humanize, right? And remember that who we're dealing with is community members. So how do we continue to support them, right? Especially in times of need, but just giving a lot of the challenges that the Southeast is trying to address. So I think as we think about, just next steps, right? What do you hope people take away from these conversations?
I hope that our community will take away that we're there for them. If we don't have the answer, you can walk into a Bell Community Center, and where they don't have the answer, they will take the time out to help find out what you need, whether it's getting your vaccine card because you lost it, you can't recall where you can go to get a vaccination. Still, as Alvin said, they're doing the testing, but Wesley continues in the Bell Gardens area. We continue to give out boosters to the communities, and they're able to come back if they lose a card, and we're able to help them get their card again, even if it wasn't with us. We are looking to our care system. So I want the community to know that Wesley, JWCH, we're here for you. We're part of the community, and our mission is to be part of the community.
Can you share where your offices are located, just so that people know where to find you?
Sure. Our corporate office is in the City of Commerce. We have a Bell Garden site, a Lynwood site, Bell Flowers. We have downtown sites, Norwalk, Whittier, you name it, we're probably there. Thank you, Al.
Councilmember, what do you hope people take away from this conversation?
I think working with CBOs and JWCH and other medical institution and city staff is to work early, not to wait until an emergency happens. I think working early helps out when the crisis does come together. We were lucky that we were able to work with the supervisor's office and JWCH as well, with also the CBO, and it helped us get the thing running quickly and able to open up the vaccination center quickly. And there was some hiccups along the way, but in the end of the day, our community was well taken care of. I think it's credit to our staff and the nurses at Wesley Center as well that made this possible, and having the collaboration with the CBO. Again, you just got to start early, and once a crisis does happen, you can hit the ground running.
Yeah, I love that, because I think part of that is building those relationships, building that trust, because I heard you say, it takes trust, right? It takes that relationship building. So working on building those relationships early on versus us waiting until we have a crisis to come together and really work collaboratively.
Of course.
Exactly.
Alvin, what do you hope people take away from this conversation?
Absolutely. So with me working in Parks and Recreation, we do service immediately Bell, but it doesn't just extend to just Bell itself. I like to think that we do service SELA as a whole, not just the residents in Bell, Huntington Park, Bell Gardens, and so forth. Like, our mission as community service activists is to service the entire community, and it's not just Bell. We want someone to come into any facility in Bell and get information on a plethora of resources, such as the testing site, potential vaccination opportunities. That's all that we operate, or that's what we recommend people to do when they come to our facilities, rather. So to really entrust into the Parks and Rec Department, or the city as a whole, for us to connect them to potential resources in the area.
Awesome, thank you. Is there anything else you want to share that maybe you wanted to kind of touch base?
Again, I think it's, here as a council member, as a city, we are here for the community. And it's our job to work with other institutions, whether it's a CBO or health organizations to be able to bring these resources to the city. And we'll continue to work hard to make sure that we bring those resources in collaborations with the different organizations. And if like I said, we got to work early. Hopefully we won't go through another crisis like we did, and keep our community safe, and we'll keep thriving.
Thank you so much.
And I would just add on building relationships early. So networking with our partners, whether it's the grocery store or the hardware store, but knowing that we're all together in the community to be able to help each and every one of our communities.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that's what I hope we all end up doing at the end of the day. You know, going through the pandemic, this has binded all of us together.
Yes.
The things that we could do together as a collaboration, you could see the beauty of it. You know, we got tens of thousands of people vaccinated in the SELA and beyond. So that's the reach that we could potentially have when we work with our CBOs and our nonprofit organizations.
Exactly, I agree.
And another thing, the city of Bell is 2 square miles, and I think us working with the surrounding cities helped out a lot. And again, thanks to you all that we were able to communicate with one another and to bring this center and make sure that they also send their residents to us. I remember when we first opened it, a lot of council members in the surrounding cities were making calls and making sure that their residents as well were vaccinated. So working together always helps out a lot. You can't just be a city on your own and try to do things on your own. And this was a success, and it shows from that.
Well, thank you so much. I know, thank you for all your time, because I know you have been working with us to not only create the videos, but also really sharing and trusting us that we can highlight some of the work that you're all doing. I think I do want to take this moment to just thank all of the partners, right? Because, well, you know, we've been in partnership with the City of Bell and Wesley Center. There's so many other leaders and organizations that have been behind us that have been doing this work, right? So I know a lot of the elected officials were also involved. Supervisor Hilda Solis has been, you know, and was always a champion of SELA, and I think highlighting and thanking her for her commitment to seeing some of these, you know, regional collaborations take place was very important to us. So thank you to her for doing that and working with us through that process. So thank you again for your time and for joining us. And as we move forward, we are moving into our second segment, which is really, as you know, right, and one of the pieces that we continue to highlight is this piece around health, right? And our community's health, our community wellness is really tied to what we know is our zip code, right? What we have access to, green space, you know, health facilities, and really that resources that oftentimes SELA has not had. So I think for us, we want to just, you know, really think about how is our environment also impacting, and also led to the reasons why our communities were suffering so drastically with COVID, right? So as we transition to this next segment, we really want to highlight the work of TreePeople and the city of Lynwood in addressing some of this environmental justice issues. So we'll go ahead and cue the video.
Trees in urban cities help us in many ways. Trees combat climate change, trees clean the air.
Trees conserve energy, trees save water.
Trees help prevent soil erosion. Trees heal.
Here in SELA, the city of Lynwood faces disproportionate amounts of environmental pollution, mainly caused by manufacturing zones, the Alameda Corridor, car emissions from the 105 freeway, the 710 freeway, and the poor tree canopy area. Because of the lack of green space, Lynwood has become an island of higher temperatures compared to other areas.
As a councilwoman and a lifelong resident of the city of Lynwood, I felt we needed to take action. With the support of Loyola Marymount University's Cures program, with the Gateway Cities Council of Governments, and with TreePeople, we have increased our canopy and we have lessened the impact of environmental pollution here in Lynwood.
At the start of the project with TreePeople, our tree canopy coverage was 16% out of a possible 41%. That means 25% was still available in Lynwood for possible tree planting. The remaining ground area was considered not suitable for tree planting due to the nature of the area.
TreePeople's mission is to inspire, engage, and support people to take personal responsibility for the urban environment, making it safe, healthy, fun, and sustainable, and to share our process as a model for the world. We wouldn't be able to continue our mission without our deeply devoted and hardworking volunteers.
Trees need people and people need trees. Tree People is now the largest environmental movement headquartered in Southern California. We support communities to take action for our environment by planting and caring for trees in our neighborhood.
Together with Tree People, we've planted 950 of the scheduled 1,000 shade trees that our community members helped us identify. Our priority is to plant them in the east and west end of the city due to the high traffic associated with the I-710 highway and Alameda corridor. Tree People also donated 300 fruit trees to the residents of Lynwood.
Lynwood residents' highest priority for tree planting was to improve air quality and reduce noise, followed by beautify neighborhoods, protect critical community places, reduce heat, promote recreation opportunities, and prevent flooding.
Tree People is devoted to the community of Lynwood. It's because of the education and commitment to our volunteers that we've been able to build together the cooling canopies of shade via the planting of the 1,000 shade trees. Through our tree education workshops, our Lynwood volunteers have also learned vital tools to nurture and care for those trees to ensure they flourish and benefit the people of SELA today and in the future.
We must prioritize the quality of life of SELA residents by addressing challenges around air, soil, and water contamination and increase green spaces in SELA cities.
Changing the landscape of the city was no easy job.
But with the diligence and passion from the residents of our city of Lynwood,
the Gateway Council of Governments, council members, and Tree People,
we ensured a more abundant tree canopy for all,
providing a better environment for generations to come.
If you'd like to volunteer and want to learn more about Tree People, visit our website at treepeople.org. You can also discover more about the SELA agenda at selacallab.org.
Welcome back. We are so excited because we get to transition now from some of these conversations around health, right? Part of what we've shared, right, is the intersection of some of these policy areas, right? We can't talk about health without talking about the impact that our environment has in our communities, and essentially the quality of life of the community here in Southeast are impacted by a lot of these other external factors, right? What we tend to call the social determinants of health, things like housing, like our environment, a lot of these other larger kind of issues, right? And then so I think part of the work and really looking at some of the partnerships that are taking place, we came across the work that our partners here at Lynwood are really doing, right? And we wanted to just kind of share that space and share the story so that a lot of our community understands what are some of the work that is taking place in the Southeast that oftentimes we don't get to hear from, right? So thank you for all of you for joining us, for working with us on this video and really kind of sharing this space. So I'll start with you, Miguel, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll go down for introductions.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Miguel Vargas, the Social Media and Marketing Coordinator, the former community organizer for the Southeast LA area. I'm part of an organization called Tree People. We've been here since the 70s. We are celebrating our 50-year anniversary this year. So we're really glad we were able to help the city of Lynwood and just the cities here in Southeast LA and all over LA County and all over Riverside to be able to bring more trees to the communities.
And I'm Oscar Flores, the current mayor of the great city of Lynwood and a longtime recreation professional as well.
Hi, and I'm Marisela Santana. I'm a former city councilwoman in the city of Lynwood and longtime resident.
Well, thank you, all of you, for joining us and for working with us and putting these stories together. So we wanted to just kind of get started today and asking you a couple of questions. So if you don't mind, Miguel, starting, what initiated Tree People's interest and involvement in greening the city of Lynwood?
So that's really, really cool. That's a really cool story for me to tell because we get that question a lot here with the residents. But one of the reasons why we did start here specifically in Southeast LA, do work here in Lynwood, Huntington Park, Southgate, is because there is a thing here called the urban heat island effect. The urban heat island effect causes the pavement, the cement and stuff like that to be able to get hotter, at least 10 to 15 degrees hotter than usual. That's the reason why we want to be able to mitigate all of that. And of course, I mean, look around you. There's factories, there's freeways, spaghettis of freeways, pollution everywhere. And these trees will help these communities a lot to be able to clean most of that air, most of that carbon dioxide that we do get from all those cars and all that pollution. And yeah, and basically that's the reason why we chose this specific area, city of Lynwood, Southeast LA, because we want to mimic whatever there is also in the city of Pasadena and Beverly Hills, because I mean, it's shady over there. You feel really, really cool because all the trees that are out there. And we want to bring all of that here to these communities as well too. We want to feel that shade here in these areas. So, yeah.
And your motto is also very community driven, right? We really kind of focus on creating that opportunity for community to get involved in this process. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so all of our projects, all of our events that we do have are all community driven. We do not start any project without getting the opinion of the community as well too. So I mean, when we first started with Lynwood, we did a whole tree summit where we asked the residents where would they want to see the trees be planted in first. And well, like I said, the community is always involved 24/7 in all of our projects that we do have, and we do get. But yeah, and then the events, of course, are cool with volunteers. The mayor, you've been here before to our events, and they're really, really fun to be able to get to know your community a little bit more and be able to plant a tree of your own.
Awesome, thank you. Councilwoman Marisela, when did the city decide to get involved with this project? I know at the time you were in the council.
Yes, so I believe it was late 2020 when these discussions started taking place. And I was a member of the Gateway Cities Council of Governments representing the city of Lynwood. And I remember that TreePeople was a presenter, and they showed the tree canopy over all of our cities. And I reached out to the COG director, and I said, you know what, I want to have a sit down with TreePeople, because Lynwood, the city of Lynwood, you can see how much we lacked tree canopy in our city, and it was not just because I've been a longtime member of this city and a council member, but being in these positions, you get to hear now what the effects of not having trees in our area does to our residents. And on top of that, the city of Lynwood sits right on the brink of two different freeways, the 710 and the 105. And, we have the airport going over us. We have the LA and the Long Beach ports leading into our city. So the fact that, we're seeing these visuals that TreePeople is showing us, and there's a lack of trees in comparison to cities, let's say on the west side or north of us, it was a sad image to look at. So I reached out and I said, you know what, we need to do more. And I was really happy to hear how TreePeople already had things in the works to actually come into the SELA region to help us, all of our cities.
Mayor Flores, thank you for that. What do you hope other cities will take away from this example of collaboration with CBOs?
So it's super important, right? The collaborative effort. I mentioned in my brief introduction that I am a recreation professional, and something that we've done in our southeast area as recreation professionals is work as a unit. And so when I became elected just a few years ago, it was important for me to continue that. But it was also really great to see that was happening already with SELA Collab, with my colleagues at that time. And being able to collaborate with your community-based organizations who, more than I think our city councils a lot of times, have their pulse on what the needs are of the communities in very specific areas. And so it's important to hear from them what the studies are, what the research is, the different resources that they have available to our cities and our communities. So I hope that all of our surrounding communities are able to appreciate the power in that we've been able to see these last few years, and look forward to something even greater now.
Awesome, thank you for that. Miguel, how does TreePeople ensure continued advancement of greening SELA cities?
So right now we have different projects coming up. Not only are we still going to keep taking care of the trees here in Lynwood, but we're also going to be planting probably another 400 trees in the city of Huntington Park, another 1,000 trees in the city of Southgate. So we have a lot of projects coming up here in the Southeast LA area.
Sorry, you just planted 1,000 in Lynwood, right?
We already planted. Yeah, no problem. We already planted 1,000 trees in Lynwood, 1,400 trees in the city of Cartagena Park. We planted another 1,500 trees in the city of Commerce alone. So we've done already a lot here in the Southeast LA communities. But our work is never done because, I mean, there's always still stuff to be done. There's still improvements to be done here in the cities. And of course, there's always pollution. There's just, by us sitting here right outside, there's always cars passing by, at least around like 1 million to like 2 million cars at least pass by every single day. So we need these trees.
Awesome, thank you. Marisela, what environmental changes and impact to the community have you witnessed because of the result of the partnership?
Well, I think that the community is really happy when they hear that, the city is collaborating with TreePeople in making sure that we, increase our tree canopy. It's something that we can do to help mitigate the effects of the pollution coming off of the freeways here nearby. We've also recently we opened up an urban bike trail where TreePeople helped us plant 300 trees along the new bike trail, which sits along a park that we put up several years ago in the city. So that's 300 additional trees. So, I'm still personally working with TreePeople to see how we could bring more trees. And, there's a lot of grant money out there too. So I think that some of the impact that our relationship with TreePeople and SELA Collaborative and with Gateway Cities Council of Governments, we have also developed and started more discussions with, I guess that you could say, that have more weight with, let's say, the Port of LA, with the county, for them to shine a light on our needs here. And trees are one of the solutions to help solve some of these environmental problems in our communities.
I know you mentioned in your comments, right, the Gateway COG. And I know when we started these conversations around how do we help tell the story of this amazing work taking place, Nancy Pfeffer came up in the conversation. Can you tell a little bit more about her role in some of these conversations?
Yeah, so Nancy Pfeffer is she's the director of the Gateway Cities Council of Governments. And I think that, the Gateway Council of Governments, they work with all of our cities here in the SELA area and, beyond. And we all sit on this board. And she has been excellent at making sure that all of us hear about the resources available to our cities. And I think that she's like the beginning. She has laid out that foundation for all of our cities to learn that there's all these resources that we can work with different CBOs, that we can work with the county, that we can work with Caltrans, with the ports of LA, with the airports. She has really helped to establish a seat at the table for all of our cities. And I think that's really important to know that the work that we've been doing, the work that SELA Collaborative has helped to establish, like I said, it has led the way to having these discussions that have existed for years. But I think now people are listening. People are seeing the needs. People are seeing how pollution is affecting not just the health of our residents, but how the pollution affects our community as a whole. Even at the park, you want to go to the park to, let's say, jog. I don't, but you want to go to the parks to jog, to walk your dog, to get some fresh air, and that's hard to do in our communities because because of our proximity to the freeways, because of our proximity to the airport going up above. So we can, if we can plant more trees to help mitigate those effects, I mean, it's a really good start, and I hope that we're not done. I hope our collaboration with TreePeople isn't finished. This is just the beginning that I see.
Mayor Flores, are there other initiatives taking place in the city that are example of these type of partnerships and collaborations?
Yeah, there's a ton. So something I discovered early on when I got elected is the number of community-based organizations in our city and the good work they were already doing. And now they just needed a platform. So thankfully, with my former colleague on council, we were all able to provide a good, safe space for them to share with the rest of the community what they have to offer. And so there's a lot from things like mental health, obviously environmental health. People are paying attention now to Lynwood because we've been able to reach out to folks. And because they're paying attention to Lynwood, that means they're paying attention to the southeast area, to SELA. And you know, you just had some folks right before us sitting here too that we're very good friends with, and we're doing good work with now too. And it's just incredible what we've been able to do to bring that attention. You know, from our supervisor, the higher elected supervisor, our senator, our congresswoman, assembly member. They've been so supportive now of this area, where in the past it wasn't that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important to note, right? Because I think there's been a number of organizations, TreePeople being one of them, East Yard, CBE, some of the other environmental justice organizations, right, doing work in the Southeast. And I think what we've heard over many years, right, has been SELA hasn't received its fair share of resources. It hasn't received its fair share of attention, right, to address some of these very large social and challenging issues, right? I think when we think about the quality of life, I think that's where we all kind of come together around, right? It's how do we help increase that quality of life for our community members? So I think as we think about next steps, right, like what do you hope people take away from these conversations?
For me personally, the only thing I want the community to take away from this is for them to know, just be aware of where you're at, and just to be able to learn more about like those different stuff that you guys need here in the community. Not only that, but I mean, know more about like the environment. Because sometimes when I did the nature walk here in Lynwood, the one thing that I noticed that people sometimes don't get the chance to like just sit and just, I guess, take whatever's around you, just be able to see what's where do you live, what's your environment like, and just be able to just sit down and notice about like the trees that are here, about like what can we do to improve these communities to make it a little bit better than it was yesterday. Kind of like with these tree stuff, this is what we're trying to do here. But of course, I mean, all of our work that we do, we cannot do it without the community. Like I keep mentioning, the volunteers are our heart. They're our soul for the work that we do. So without the help of you guys, we will not be, our organization wouldn't be anything, literally. So thank you all so much for helping us out. We hope to see you in the upcoming plantings that we have. Like I said, we have different events coming up. But yeah, that's the only thing. Being able to work together as a community is a really, really huge fact, and I hope that people realize that.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. What about you, Mayor? What do you hope people take away?
Right at the camera here, you have a voice. You have a voice, and it's being heard by your leaders in your community. There's a great vibe in our region nowadays. You all know that. It was different just maybe 5 years ago. And it's very powerful what we're seeing today, that city councils are open to listening, even if you're on the other end of an ideal, right? We're here to listen and to help move things for you, for our communities. So yeah, I hope they understand that they do have a strong voice now, and we want to hear you.
Awesome, thank you. Marisela, what do you hope people take away from this?
Wow, that's a really nice question. Well, you know, I think as a former council member, you know, I'm very dedicated to the community. You know, I may be a former council member, but I'm going to be a voice for Lynwood and for the SELA cities forever, because I love the community. We do a lot of great work together. You know, I'm also a member of a group that we formed during the pandemic called SELA United, of a lot of very committed elected leaders just looking to make sure that our voices were heard. You know, during the pandemic, we saw where we were. You know, the vaccines were going to cities all around SELA, just not to SELA. So the work that we did to shine a light on that disparity was incredible. And I think that the work that we did there has expanded for us to work together on different types of problems that all of our cities have experienced. You know, and I think during the pandemic we just realized that you know, every city, as much as we fight for our own city, we're stronger when we fight together for all of our cities. And it's, this has been a great opportunity to work with CBOs in the region and with other organizations and agencies that can help, that have those resources. And I think if anything, what we can take away from these discussions is to know that there's people listening now, and there's people who are looking at our cities and looking at how much we've lacked those resources for years. And now you have a group of leaders in all of the region who are listening, who are out there being a voice for the people from this community, for the schools, for the students. We are making sure that our concerns are being heard. And the good part about it is that people are listening now, and they're seeing how much, let's say the trucks coming off the ports, how much they're affecting us, and the ports are listening. They're offering grants, and hopefully that's something that we can dive into and reach out to them, and say, what, we need more trees. You guys help us, and so these types of discussions, I think they were born out of these collaborations with CBOs, and I think that's really, really important to highlight. And here in Lynwood, we appreciate the work that TreePeople has done. We appreciate the work that SELA Collaborative has done with their agenda to make sure that, our voices are being heard, and the voices that weren't heard in the past. So it's good to see where we were to where we are now, and that's thanks to the work that's been done.
Thank you so much. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add. I know you mentioned there's a couple of events coming up. This would be a great moment to share some of those.
Honestly, just go to treepeople.org/volunteer. You'll be able to see a lot of our events happening, not only today, not only next weekend, but the weekends to come. Like I mentioned, we do still have work here to be done in Lynwood. So come out and join us for Tree Care Summer. That's basically one of the most, I know it's really, really hard. It could be really tiring, but I mean, trust me, you'll have the time of your life just being able to be one with nature, being able to take care of the trees. Not only that, but then take that back to your house and be able to use all of that to be able to take care of all of your trees that you have back home as well too. So be able to come out to your events, enjoy, just get to know your community a little bit better, and just enjoy you with nature and stuff. And bring out your family, bring your tias, tios, anyone you can.
Awesome. Anything you want to
just add to that? What better place to do that, to network with your community than at the parks and the different events we have at the parks. So just go to your city website or their Instagram, Facebook pages, and everyone's always updating the different activities that they're doing in your community. And so we hope to see you all out there.
Thank you. Anything else you want to share?
Wow. You guys give me a microphone, I could talk forever. But, I think it's really important. And, I wanted to mention something else, with the work. Of course, I am proud to do the work that I did as a council member. And like I said, I'm going to continue to do that work, whether I have a title or not. But I think it's important to highlight some of the work that we did on the council together when I was on there. We were able to work reach out to the Department of Toxic Substances Control. They're offering grants for cities to clean up the brownfields that all of our cities have had for decades. And so I think in the city of Lynwood, we were able to get over $6 million in grant monies to clean some of these vacant properties that have existed in our city for decades. And because it's just so costly to clean up these sites, and that they've been there since before the freeways were there. This was only back then when the railroad was there. And so it's important for us to be able to have these funds to clean up the brownfield so that we can focus on bringing in economic development that's going to help our cities. Not only that, but these sites have sat vacant for years. And through that effort, we were able to bring in another grant, and we were approved for a PACE program. And it's a year-long program that I worked with a Department of Toxic Substances Control as well. And they're here for a year to work with residents to see how else they can help, where else our needs are in Lynwood. And they're also working with other cities. So those types of solutions for our city, they didn't they didn't come out of nowhere. They came out of the work, out of the collaborative work that we've been doing here in the SELA region. And it's like, okay, we have all this money to clean up brownfields for California. Why aren't the cities in the SELA region applying for this grant money? So let's reach out to them. And they did, and I want to say it was December 2021. They came in, we hosted a panel discussion with all the SELA leaders, and all of the SELA leaders applied for this grant money for their cities. And guess what? You know, they had the money. So it was there. We just need to go after it for our cities.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
a quick recognition, if I may, to my former colleague on council here. Something that we're seeing now is, at least when I was growing up and I got to know council members, you know, you would step down or retire from these seats, and then you would just kind of disappear, for lack of a better term. But, you know, appreciation to Maricela for still staying involved in her community and still making waves and using those resources that she had made back then, as well as the folks that you know, didn't continue in their seat, but have continued to be active in their communities. I just wanted to make sure that we recognize that, and I hope that's a new movement in our communities as well, that we don't disappear. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time and for all the work that you're all doing in our communities. I think for us, you know, we wanted to just highlight some of this work, right? Because oftentimes our community is not aware that there's TreePeople, that there's events that you can not only join, right, to help your community, but also educate and learn about some of these challenges in our communities, right? Oftentimes we don't think about how our environment is affecting our health, right, and our family's health. One of the things that we continue to highlight is that intersection, right, of, you know, our environment, what we have access to in the community really impacts, you know, the fact that SELA has some of the highest rates of asthma and some of the highest, you know, obesity and, you know, other challenges, right? So how do we address those is by looking at how all of these issues intersect at one point or another, right? So I think overall, the one thing that we continue to hear, right, is how do we work together with nonprofits and, you know, our nonprofit sector, and this is something that we continue to highlight not only to our local leaders, right, but also across the county and the state, is the need for the nonprofits here in Southeast to be recognized as that social safety net, right? Oftentimes, you know, we released a new poll, a new community survey where we continue to highlight how communities saying who they go to first is community organizations. So the importance of creating those partnerships, creating these collaborations and working together is going to make the difference as we continue to move forward. But part of that is building those relationships, right, and building that trust with each other that, you know, we are here to serve community, and at the end of the day, what we're able to move forward impacts how our community lives their daily life in the Southeast. So thank you for your time, for being here today. We want to also take a moment to thank our sponsor. None of this work, none of this production, these conversations would have taken place without our sponsor, Optimum Seismic, who has believed in our work but continues to support our efforts. So I know, in case you don't know who Optimum Seismic is, we do have a short video we want to show you to talk a little bit more about who they are.
Optimum Seismic Incorporated, a leading commercial construction company, provides high-quality structural engineering, steel fabrication, and construction services for multifamily and commercial buildings. Our tradition of service is built on value engineering, a systematic method of achieving the best combination of functionality, safety, and cost-effectiveness. If you want the finest engineering and construction solutions for your earthquake retrofit, renovation, or change-of-use project, choose Optimum Seismic.
So thank you again for joining us today. We're so excited because we get to tell these stories. I think as a team, right, we have been trying to, when we first began, our biggest goal had been how do we create this regional identity, right, for the Southeast, not for SELA to be known by Lynwood or Huntington Park, but for the region to be recognized as a region. And I think what, you know, a lot of what was said here today, we're seeing a lot of these partnerships and collaborations that haven't taken place in the past. So we wanted to just honor that, the leaders that have been part of that, while we recognize as well, right, that we can't have everyone that was involved in these conversations, right? We do see you, we do recognize the work that you're doing. TreePeople is one of the organizations that we work with, along so many other partners that are doing work here in the Southeast to help our community. So thanks to all of them for being with us and for Optimum Seismic for their partnership. We do have, as we continue this effort right in this campaign, a next live conversation on March 18th. So we hope you can join us. I want to take this moment to also thank our media partner, Night Flare, and their team for putting together this production and supporting us through this efforts. And of course, to our SELA team who continue to do their work and their contribution and making sure that we continue to do our work throughout the Southeast. We hope you can join us next time, and I hope you were able to learn from today's conversations, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Thank you.